Acoustics are not optimal, but I try my very best to be heard. Prime Minister Di Pedro, Mr. President, what a pleasure to have you here. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, a pleasure to welcome all of you here in our pavilion. We all know if we want to keep global warming below the tipping point of 1.5 degrees, we need to cut global emissions. And there's a way to cut emissions while fostering innovation and growth. Put a price on carbon. It is a market-driven instrument, and the message is very clear. You're polluting, you must pay a price. You want to avoid the payment, well, then innovate and decarbonize. Carbon pricing nudges the private sector towards innovation. It makes heavy polluters pay a fair price, and the revenues can be reinvested in the fight against climate change, in innovation, and in a just transition. This is not only one of the most powerful tools in our hands, it is also one of the most trusted and the most tested. Governments in all continents have embarked on a similar journey. Countries like Zambia, who are joining us today, but many more from Canada to China to New Zealand to Kazakhstan. What brings us here today is our resolve to boost a global movement. Last June in Paris, we launched a call to action to create more carbon markets that are aligned with the Paris Agreement. Today we're joined by the IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO. You have an essential role to play to support and incentivize change. And together we want to advance on three basic goals. First, we want to assist more and more countries to create and complete the domestic carbon markets. Worldwide, there are already 73 carbon pricing instruments in place, but they cover only 23% of global emissions, and that share needs to increase. It will allow for faster reduction of emissions. It will create a level playing field for international trade, and it will raise more revenues for global climate action, including in the developing world. So let us work on putting a price on all CO2 emissions in the world. Second, we need ambitious carbon markets. Carbon pricing must remove carbon. And let me give you some figures deducted from our own experience. In those 18 years since the European Union introduced carbon pricing, emissions covered by our system went down by 40%, while the economy was growing, and we have raised over 175 billion euros in revenues, and these are going exclusively into climate action and in innovation and to developing countries. My third point, of course, voluntary carbon credits can also play a role. We need the private capital to flow into these carbon credits. But the investors also need certainty that these are effective projects. And that's why we need common standards for projects that reduce emissions. We also need private money to flow into projects that enhance biodiversity. Zambia and here too, credits, let's call them nature credits, can play an important role. COP28 is an essential moment. Our aim is to establish the framework for international cooperation and to set a robust benchmark for carbon credit markets. We need diplomacy, all countries on board. Different countries may set up different kinds of carbon markets, and we need consistency. We can do it alone. No institution can do it alone. Today we are joining forces to bring all the expertise to give carbon pricing and carbon market the push they deserve. Many thanks.